I like this actor. I like the character. You know, again, it's a different kind of superhero show. And I wonder how some people are going to take this, because you have superheroes, but now they're going in directions that we normally don't see them go in, and maybe people won't be happy with that. Hey everyone, join me for my very special brand of sit-down comedy, March 29th at the Broadway Comedy Club. Don't let that stupid face right there fool you. We'll have a good time. Get your tickets by going to doubletoastedny.com or go to doubletoasted.com. Oh, Martin, that devil at work again. You mean when you were bad, or people did bad things, or something bad happened in the world, your mama tell you,
that's the devil.
That devil, he out there hard at work again. Your mama didn't know about that Daredevil right there, though. That's the good kind of devil we're looking for.
Sure.
Because people have been fiending for that devil ever since they heard that he was going to be coming back to Disney Plus.
And by people, you mean you.
Oh, no, don't put that on me now.
Man, I've heard nobody talk about Daredevil the way you have.
That is a lie. See, that devil's at work. You lying.
I wish I was.
A lot of people have been talking about the return of Daredevil.
What I know is the people I've been talking to, nobody has talked about it as much as you have.
All right. I'll take that, Martin, but I'm going to let you know I'm not the only one. Black people have been talking about our supporter brother, Luke Cage. I'd love to have him back, but I want that devil first. You know? It ain't just me.
Okay.
A lot of people have been waiting for the return of Daredevil, because Daredevil was one of the best series of Marvel shows they had on Netflix at the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are also worried that if they brought it back to Disney Plus, that they were going to water it down. He was already doing all that funny business with She-Hulk and everything, dressing up that bright suit and everything, all that bright yellow on there. They're going to, okay, so y'all do what you do. You make it bright, you make it colorful, and you got jokes. And then we heard that somebody came in and said, no, the hell with all that. Throw that in the garbage, rewrite it. We want that dark, gritty devil up in here. And well, looks like that's what we got. I mean, you know, you can't really tell from a trailer, but it does get your hopes up, because I like what they're doing with this right here. The lawyer from Hell's Kitchen is back. And he'll tell you too, I'm a very good lawyer.
If I do say so myself.
If I do say, don't let these blind glasses fool you. I will whoop. It's funny, because I will tell you this right now, he spends more time whooping ass as the lawyer, Matt Murdock, than he does as Daredevil.
True.
But he has returned, and of course, one of his biggest arch nemesis has also returned, which is the Kingpin, played by Vincent D'Onofrio. Of course, Charlie Cox plays Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil.
Reprising their roles.
Yeah, both reprising their roles right there. And, you know, things were kind of easier when he was the Kingpin.
Yeah.
You know, he was a clear bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, he ran a criminal empire. You know he's doing dirty shit, going there, whoop his ass, put him in jail. He'll get back out again, rinse and repeat. Things are a little bit more complicated now. Somehow this man, a criminal, has convinced everybody that he should be a politician. Glad this don't happen in real life, man. Glad this is only...
that's too far-fetched.
Yeah.
That could never happen in real life.
Glad that's only a comic book. Not in the real world we live
in. That'd be like if the mayor of New York right now was a criminal.
Or the president.
Or the president,
But that don't happen. Don't worry about that, y'all. But yeah, that makes things a little bit tricky, because he's convinced, now he's got the public on his side. He's convinced the people that I'm on the straight and narrow. And I'm even telling you, man, I know we've had our past. I know we've had our differences, but I'm telling you, man, I'm a different person. You're going to watch and see. Look at how I come in and just change this town for the better.
I get things done.
A man of the people. Matt Murdock says, bullshit, I'll be watching your big ass from the moment that you get in the office. But there's other things to worry about, other distractions out there. You also have serial killers who like to make murals out of people's blood. You have other superheroes that need the good services of a lawyer who can kind of relate to their lifestyle. And also, oh, hell, he's like, you know what, as if I didn't have enough trouble. God, your ass is back. Oh, crazy ass Frank Castle. AKA The Punisher. He's like, oh, hell, man, you know, I already got enough to deal with.
Listen, I can work with you on some things, but you always take it too far.
Yeah. That's what I do.
Like, wait, I want you to help me with these criminals. Now I got to beat your ass.
Yeah, people. Oh, man, the lawyer from Hell's Kitchen has his hands full. Might be a little rough for him, but that's great for us. Or is it? Let's go ahead and take a look at this trailer for the return of Daredevil and Daredevil Born Again. And we'll be back to give you our review.
Mind putting the hatchet down?
Really? Damn, I thought we were friends.
Right.
I like the way he had to yell his name to keep from getting a hatchet to his head.
Right. Can we bury the hatchet? No, wait. No. Let me rephrase that. A lot of screaming.
So Martin, you'd probably be able to tell me more about this. I haven't read this, but this I would say that this is probably loosely based on Frank Miller's limited run, Born Again.
No.
Is it not?
It shares the title, but it has very little to do with that. It's taken from a lot of other different runs.
Okay. So that's why I asked. Because I know that there was the same title out there.
Yeah, which made me think, oh, they're going to tell this story, but they even had some of those pieces in some of the Netflix shows.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this is not an adaptation of that.
So it's just a cool name.
Yeah.
That they put in there.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I guess because he quits being Daredevil for a while, but, eventually comes back.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's a big departure from that comic of the same name. It's also a big departure from most of the Marvel shows, if not just about all of them. I'm talking about the Marvel shows on Disney, on Disney Plus. Those shows that were on Marvel for a while, even some of the ones that were kind of pushing it a little bit, being more mature, they were kind of very fantastical. They were colorful. They were very much comic book shows, and they were very much in the later style of this new phase of Disney that we have going on. Not this one. This one is very much in the tone. For those who are wanting the tone of the Netflix shows to come back, this is a continuation of that. I mean, they even making references to the Netflix shows. It's very dark. It's very gritty. It's very violent. And because it's an extension of those Netflix shows, and because we're not doing any of those lighthearted or kind of safer Disney shows, it feels more cinematic in a way. It goes back to what I was saying, because this doesn't have a whole lot of CG.
Right.
Now you see Daredevil, you'll see an action figure, swinging from some nunchucks or whatever. But,
swinging through the city or going up a building.
Yeah, now that is CG.
Yeah.
But the show still has a very dark tone. And since they're not having to, again, light things up to make it safe to put in a whole lot of CG, this feels more grounded, and it does feel more cinematic, and does feel more like a movie, or more like a crime movie than it does a comic book movie.
Yeah. I mean, as much as they're like, this is not a continuation of the Netflix shows, I'm like, how is it not?
Well, they said it was. They acknowed that it was.
Oh, did they finally do that?
No, they did. They said, this is even those bullshit. They just said at the last minute. They said that the Netflix shows, even though they didn't before, that they said it did exist within the MCU.
Yeah, because if you haven't seen the Netflix shows, you're kind of lost coming into this.
Well, I think that this stands on its own, though. I think that they make references, they talk about certain things, and if you watch it, it would probably help to watch those shows. But I think that with certain big events happen in this, that that it's a big deal. It's a reference to the last show. You can sort of see what relationships are like. So it's a lot that it helps if you see those other shows, but I don't think it's necessary to see.
Well, see, the thing is, we've seen those shows, so we don't really have the frame of reference for somebody coming in brand new.
I would say that
I think somebody coming in brand new could watch this and go, like, if they were sitting with you, they were like, okay, so what's going on with them, and who is that guy, and why is that important?
Okay, see, now that's where I disagree. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that my opinion is that I think they tell these stories well enough, and some of these stories stand on their own well enough that you don't have to see the other show. I think they start new stories here. This is just my opinion. I don't think that you need to.
See, I don't want to spoil anything. There's just that there's
several mentions, and there's several references, and there's several things that happen, but they start new stories here.
No, they do. I'm just thinking in the first episode, in the first 10 minutes, there's something that happens that involves a character that if you hadn't been watching the third season, it feels like it's a random thing that happens.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I think that people can come in.
Okay.
You know, what only time will tell.
Yeah.
But I think that I personally feel like people come in and not be completely lost.
Okay.
I think the storytelling here, the writing is that strong.
Okay.
In certain parts.
Okay.
Not everything.
Okay.
But in certain parts, I do. Another thing I like about the show is that I think that it has a more grounded feel than any of the not Netflix shows, but Marvel shows that we had.
Oh yeah.
And one of the reasons why is because, so they got this framing device of this blogger who goes out and does testimonials from New Yorkers.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and she's doing street interviews and talking about, what people feel about Wilson Fisk being the mayor of New York. And it sort of feels like it's referencing our political times right now because people are divided on this guy having a background as in the case of him, still in some cases an alleged criminal. People are very divided on politics, and also this is supposed to be a street level type character.
Sure,
a street level. What they call Marvel has is street level heroes. What you saw in the past Netflix shows are those heroes.
Yeah,
and so I think that having those interviews from people on the street, it also makes the show street level on another level because it's not just the heroes. It focuses on the city now.
The city, the actual street. Man on the street interviews. It sets up the climate of where New York is right now. You got a lot of people talking about crime, and it's divided between the people who are like, well, somebody like Trump, Fisk can come in and get things done. He's what the city needs, and the other people who are like, yeah, that guy's a crook. Mm-hmm. I don't trust him, and this would be a bad idea. It doesn't sort of reflect our political climate now. It's a direct reflection.
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of this was written before we got to where we are right now. So I don't even think that they did that, as a direct jab towards anybody or Trump, anything. It just
is what it is.
It just kind of it's very coincidental what happened. But
in comics, Fisk does become mayor.
Yeah.
And that came about during Trump's first term in office.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it could be a connection there. Okay. Because I'd never read that before. But it does create this real interesting dynamic, too, between the characters. No surprise here. I think you're still getting some great performances from Charlie Cox.
Oh, yeah.
As Matt Murdock and Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin, a.k.a. Wilson Fisk.
Especially that scene, the two of them in the bar. I mean, in that diner right there. Man. That's one of those confrontations like in Heat with De Niro and Pacino.
Yeah. It's a well-written scene. This is not written for a comic book movie. Mm-hmm. This is a scene that's written for a drama.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant scene, man. Because I like how they're setting up where they're telling both Matt Murdock's and the Kingpin story, man. And when you watch this, it really does make you wonder how to root for them. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of layers that are created, a lot of small things to read into where you don't really know what's going on with these characters. There's not a lot said, but there's a lot to probably interpret there. And that's what I'm talking about with the writing here, because I love the way they write these characters. This is one of my favorite scenes, not only in this show, but one of my favorite scenes of any kind of Marvel TV show. Probably a lot of Marvel movies, outside of some of the action. I just think that this is one of the benefits of having Marvel go mature.
Sure.
It's not just about the blood and the violence and maybe putting in certain amounts of sex and blood, or curse words. It's about being able to write mature scenes, write mature dialogue for characters, and this is one of them.
Yeah, I don't make it to Hell's Kitchen much these days.
Neither do I. By the look of it, you've come up in the world.
I could say the same about you.
The damn dog barking. She thinks somebody's at the door. she heard that knocking. What you gonna do? Look at this little ass dog. She heard that knocking and was ready to go and tear somebody up at that door. You better sit your ass down, girl.
Ready to go yell at him.
Yeah.
You've tried to kill me a few times over the years.
As you have.
No. Incarcerate, maybe. Kill? Never.
I wonder if your darker half would agree.
That's a great scene. That is a great scene because you look at this and there's a lot of things to maybe infer from this or interpret or assume, you know, because you look at it and you're like, okay, these guys have so much in common. And now I'm wondering, even though there's some antagonism there, do they have a mutual respect for each other? Because they do have a lot in common. They both come from a violent past. They both are kind of fighting who they are.
Yeah.
They're both trying to become different people.
Yeah.
You know, they have a lot of history with each other. I mean, they're like a couple. You know, they got it's like them,
two exes meeting for coffee.
Like them not fighting anymore, them breaking up. You know, like a couple breaking up and they're just meeting for coffee, trying to see if they can be friends now.
Yeah.
And of course they can't. But you also look at things like is Matt a hypocrite because he's talking down to Wilson Fisk, and you know he's not on his level at all. But are there certain things that he does with his nature that are similar to the Kingpin? Also, I'm looking at things here, man, and I'm thinking I'm kind of falling for it. I'm looking at Wilson Fisk, our Kingpin, talking about how much he wants to change the city, how much he wants to be a different person. I'm like, man, you know, I'm kind of rooting for him. I'm not rooting for him to be mayor. I'm rooting for him to be a better person.
Sure, which is what we've done in real life. Only for it to
come on. Well, we know, man. You know?
Yeah. But there was always the hope that maybe, just maybe. But this is a great conversation because they kind of leave with an uneasy truce. It's almost like, listen, you're telling me who you are now. Both of them are saying this to each other. And if what you're saying is true, we can walk away. We don't have to be friends, but we can be friendly. You know, don't start none, don't be none.
Well, yeah.
But
that's what I'm saying. Like, they both are trying to be different men.
Yeah.
During the beginning of this show, Matt does something that he feels for himself is so horrible. He feels like he's crossed the line. He doesn't want to be Daredevil anymore. And Kingpin doesn't want to be Kingpin anymore. He really does, you know, it seems like he really does not. Now, both of them are who they are. Right. You know, call them the frog and the scorpion. I don't know which one is which.
But I'm trying, Ringo. I'm trying real hard.
A leopard don't change their spots no matter how, big your ass is. I don't, but so that's what I think is great about the writing. They give them equal time throughout the show, and they both are kind of telling parallel stories, and they both are kind of going down this similar path, even though the end goal is completely something different, or where they end up is completely something different. I love that about this. I think I think there's some of the best writing that Marvel has done for some characters of this kind for a TV show, out of all of them, actually. The new cast is good too, man. There's a lot of new, people in here, and probably too many to name during this discussion. But one of my favorite characters is Cherry, who's played by Clark Johnson.
Oh, yeah, Clark Johnson. Yeah, he's a Canadian actor, director. He's directed a lot of shows, a lot of TV. Yeah, but I first saw him back in the late 80s on a detective show. It was it was like the first Canadian detective show that was ever aired in the U.S. It used to come on CBS late at night. It was called Night Heat. And me and my roommate used to watch this almost every night. It was like our soap opera.
I remember him on a show called Homicide: Life on the Streets.
Yeah,
that's where I first saw him.
Yeah, he was on there after
he's
that.
great. And, I don't know. Wow, this guy played nothing but cops.
yeah.
You talking about he's on a cop show?
And okay.
And he plays another cop in this. He's a retired cop, but used to be Daredevil's man on the inside, giving him tips where to find certain bad guys or what's going on around town. And also, and it's kind of sad, especially when you watch the show, but Kamara De Los Reyes, who plays White Tiger. I like this actor. I like the character. Again, it's a different kind of superhero show. And I wonder how some people are going to take this, because you have superheroes, but now they're going in directions that we normally don't see them go in, and maybe people won't be happy with that. We're seeing superheroes who need legal representation. Yeah. And so, this is a man who's in trouble as a superhero, and he needs help for his superhero actions. And from that point, you kind of this goes into a whole different genre of show when it does that.
Yeah, more of a Law and Order type thing.
Yeah. And John Bernthal. Now, this is what I love about this character, because it's actually Marvel kind of owning up to something with the Punisher. I loved him because, first of all, Punisher is even crazier than he's ever been. Like they acknowledge
he's a maniac. He's almost an animal.
They say this man, he's insane.
Yeah.
They say they straight up want you to know that when you see his actions, he's a murderer. He doesn't feel heroic in the show at all. He needs help. And if I wish I had a BetterHelp ad right here, but it wouldn't help.
No, BetterHelp is not going to be enough. He needs the best help,
and that's not even
going to do it. Yeah,
no, he's this is the character who he's so crazy now that he even tells Matt Murdock when he comes in, he's like, "Come on, man, be crazy like me, embrace the insanity." And he's like, "Oh, man.
Man, I'm tired of you being a pussy. You gotta start killing people like I do."
Yeah, he's like,
"What? No,
you know what? There's a mistake coming in." Yeah. But one of the things that they do here that I thought was pretty bold. There's been a controversy of how cops and law enforcement, how they've used the Punisher logo. And without telling or spoiling anything, or telling you a lot about what's going on with his storyline, it does address that. It does address that cops shouldn't be worshiping this guy. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
He's the guy that the cops are going after.
Right.
And if you embrace his tactics, then you are a bad cop.
Right. But they're all about, well, he's getting criminals off the streets, and go Frank. I'm Team Frank, and whenever it's hey, you guys got to arrest him. They're like, yeah, sure, we'll get right on that.
Yeah, but they come in really, it's almost like they're making a statement, which is funny because I wonder how this show's I wonder if it's gonna have any backlash from a more conservative viewership or audience, because you got the whole thing where it's paralleling Trump. It seems like you got the whole thing where they're, going against the blue, talking about cops worshiping the Punisher.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it's going to play out. I thought, again, this is something that took this on a more intelligent level right here for this kind of show. And I like how it's telling different stories. I think when I'm watching this, you have an episode or two or maybe 3 where they feel episodic on their own. This is 9 episodes. So you might get a story arc that takes place in another genre. There's the defense of White Tiger. That character right there. That becomes a courtroom drama. When they get to the serial killer, Muse. Yeah, it feels like a thriller. Where any thriller where they're hunting a serial killer.
Yeah.
It's a Zodiac or Silence of the Lambs or anything like that.
Right.
Then of course at times it is a superhero show, and there's the character of Muse right there, the character that used people's blood, and that's about 2 episodes, and that very much becomes a procedural or thriller where you're hunting a serial killer. So those who are liking the past shows on the Marvel shows that on specifically on Disney Plus, this whole thing going darker, that might be a little shock to people. If you weren't watching the Netflix
that's
shows,
all you've seen,
if you weren't watching the Netflix shows and you've been keeping up with Miss Marvel and WandaVision and all those things, even to a certain extent, when you get to Echo or Hawkeye, this might be a little bit. You might be taken aback by how violent this is, but I don't know. I think there's some very strong writing here. Also has its flaws, which I'll get into in a little bit. But I know you and I were talking, and you said it was a mixed bag. And at the time, I had only seen half the show.
Yeah.
And I did have some criticisms on this. Some I pulled back on just a little bit, but I feel like you might have more.
I do. Look, I think it's a super, super strong first episode. They just pull you right in it, and you got that scene and where it goes from there, setting things up. I was like, wow, this is, man, I am fully on board. But then it kind of goes into courtroom drama. I will say, like you say, it's darker, it's grittier, it's more mature. Also, for a Daredevil show, there is not a lot of Daredevil here. I was like, wow, we go like 4 or 5 episodes without Daredevil. And then you get little dribs and drabs. And I was like, listen, I ain't gonna have superhero stuff all the time, but I did kind of come to see Daredevil. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Kat. But also within it, so many things that I did come for. You're like, yo, man, the old cast and all this, as like that felt like that just got yanked away. That was like almost a bait and switch to a degree. Now the stuff with Kingpin or Wilson Fisk, it seemed like the show is more about him, and it's kind of, in the beginning the Trump parallels, they're interesting. It's always a good thing to bring in there. And then it felt like it wasn't doing that so much. It was just more about him, and his mayorship, and then finding it not as easy as he thought, and all the different things he had to deal with. But then in the later episodes, it started going full Trump, and I was like, I wish we didn't have to lean on this so much. At 9 episodes, I think that's too many. I felt like there were a good 2 episodes that could have been cut because it keeps it from being tight, and some of the writing toward the middle it gets a little sloppy Joe, and as much as I was excited for the last episode, I almost didn't like it.
Yeah. Okay, so I agree. Let me change that because I don't want to make it seem like I don't want to seem like I'm like going against you too hard and anything. No, you know what? Something that I agree with, because it is a criticism of specifically about something you said, but at the same time, it's something to understand why they did it too. First of all, let me just say this, man. When I'm saying that you might be taken aback by this is an extremely gory show. It's not just violent. It is gory, and it gets gory as it goes along. You thought the Kingpin crushing a dude's head with a car door or something. He's got a new move here. He does some Mortal Kombat.
Game of Thrones.
He does a Mortal Kombat fatality here. And you've seen him doing it in comics. They just didn't show it like they did here.
Right.
Again, I'm not going to say where it is, but I was, by the end of it, the levels that they take this, the levels of bones sticking through skins and blood just being slashed out of people's bodies, just people being crushed. I was like, damn, I knew this was going to be violent. I knew they were going to up it up. I didn't know it was going to be this gory, which not a bad thing. I'm just saying that might surprise some people out there. You just have to kind of be prepared for it. Again, I thought it went with what they were trying to do with this show. Again, this is street level shit.
Yeah.
When they say street level, it's supposed to be about not the fantastical or aliens or magic. Also, it's supposed to be, when you get an ass whooping, you're gonna get it good.
Sure.
You're gonna get a street level ass whooping.
Yeah.
We're not gonna sit up here and and punch you and then try to sit back and be heroic about it. We're gonna brawl. When I try to take you down, you're gonna stay down.
Yeah.
When we get into fights, it's gonna be dirty. And so it fits whatever they're trying to do here, I think. But I think one of the things that helps too is that I just think the action's well done. At least, later on it does get into like, again, more hack and slash type stuff. But I think it opens up with an incredible fight scene.
It does.
So there's a scene where Daredevil's going against Bullseye. And what's cool about it is that the camera is like one tracking shot. And Bullseye is just picking up shit as he goes along, and just, it's the man that never misses.
Right.
And so he's just picking up little things right here and just nailing people. And there's even one cool thing he did where he picked up a pool table ball.
Yeah.
And just while he was stumbling and kind of out of it, he just threw it down. I thought, oh, he must be dazed or slipping or something. That ball bank shot against the corner, hit the ceiling, and knocked him upside their head. And I was like, the choreography of not only the fighting, but the scene itself is just so well done. Oh, God.
Where you going?
He thought he got away. He's like, oh, yeah, I hear those sounds over there. And yes, I would count that as a hallway shot.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Everybody in Netflix got a hallway shot.
Yeah.
A hallway fight.
Sure. Daredevil started it. That was his thing, and everybody else decided they got to get one too.
Yeah. So the criticisms here. I anticipated this with some people, and you would be one of those people now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, you said that there's a large chunk in the middle of the show where there's no Daredevil, and it does become more of a courtroom drama. And I remember thinking, like, I'm not into seeing a long courtroom drama, so I think that kind of stretched out a little bit, and that's where Daredevil's probably missed. But as far as Daredevil not being Daredevil, there's a reason for that, because he's trying to not be Daredevil.
Yeah, so I get that.
Yeah, so I mean, but if you want Daredevil, the heart wants what the heart wants.
I just because it's titled Daredevil made me think I was going to get Daredevil.
Well, it's Daredevil Born Again. He has to die a little bit.
Yeah,
and pull himself out. But like I said, I get it. There's some people going to want more Daredevil. They're going to come here wanting a certain kind of show. It's not going to be there. Then you might have a person like me where I'm like, I get it. It's he's trying not to be Daredevil. So there is going to be a large portion of the show where he's not going to be Daredevil. And they still put in fights with him as Matt Murdock. And that's one of the things that he I think is clever, where he has to figure out how to fight these battles and do them as Matt Murdock. He has to be careful who sees him fight. Sure. He has to make a better strategy on how to pick these fights and where to draw bad guys to, so he's not seen. So he's still trying to balance this whole thing of, I can't let this pass, but I can't be that guy right now.
No, I get it. And I probably wouldn't feel that way if they didn't have some episodes in there that I thought were kind of throwaways, like the whole bank robbery episode. I was just like, this is stretching things out, and this could be taken out of this series and not be missed.
See, I like that episode.
Yeah, but it's like a director shoots a movie and they got a scene they really like, but they realize this throws off the pace. Well, and they take it out.
Well, the reason why I liked it is because
and it's the first time they pull like a Marvel show where they go, oh, well, we're referencing this other series now.
Well, yeah, no, I would say that there's one particular cameo in here that might feel a little bit forced, because they're trying to say, yes, this is the MCU, in case you had any doubts. Yeah. And we know this is so different and so crazy, but make no mistake. Look who's here.
Yeah. And special guest star.
Yeah. But I didn't mind that too much. And the bank scene, I like that, because besides them using that as a way to force a cameo, that's kind of obvious. But I liked it because that was the episode where it's like, okay, how does Matt solve this situation? Without being Daredevil. He's, this is one of the trickiest situations that he has, that he finds himself in. And so I thought, okay, he has to think his way through this, and this episode showed that. And it was a shorter episode, so I liked that episode.
Yeah, and just by the time I got that far into it, I found myself picking up my phone every so often and looking at it.
Yeah,
and when there's so many shows where I'm riveted and I don't do that. Most recently with Reacher. And the thing is, I was watching this show and I was liking it, loving it at first, but then I had to acknowledge that I went from loving it to just kind of liking it. And I thought, it may not be the fairest comparison, but I thought, how did I feel when I was watching The Penguin, where I couldn't get enough? I couldn't wait for that next episode. And this one was more like, well, I'm in the story. Let's just, I got to see where it goes. But I'm not ending these episodes going like, ooh, I can't wait for the next one.
There's probably one episode where I felt that way. And it's one of the courtroom drama episodes. I'm like, all right, there's a lot of court stuff.
Well, and then so much of that with the White Tiger, we don't get a whole lot of backstory or really get to know much of him before all that's kind of over.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So it's missing the thing to make you like, oh.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think that again, boy, you and I are on different ends of this. I see your point with that, but I think that you're seeing him more as a man than as the White Tiger, and which again, puts him in a vulnerable position. And also it's a big plot point of why he's not being seen as White Tiger a lot. And I think you get some story of him as a as the man. You know, you get his family story. You get why things didn't work out for him like that. You get why he does what he does. Listen, there's not a whole lot about the White Tiger that you get, and this is not a very long storyline, but you know, I didn't mind that as much. You know, so.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's all there. It's just not written away. Like the whole time I was like, this is not bad, but it feels like it could be so much better, and it's missing those things. Like really, when I thought about the Penguin, how that had so much personality to it, and every character was just so well fleshed out, and I'm not getting that here.
I think the Penguin is a better show. You know, I do, but I like this a lot. I was hooked on every episode. Maybe, like I said, that probably one, where it's like, I'm not as drawn in as the others. But as it went along, I was like, all right, man, you know, it's pumping back up for me. I'm into these episodes. I can't wait to see what the next one is. And by the time it gets to the last episode, I really want to know where this goes. I can't wait to see what happens in season 2. And the biggest thing I want to know is how they're going to handle this. Look, you know, now we can't do this thing where these heroes are running around New York and ain't nobody talking about what Kingpin did. You know, we have to see how this has an effect. You know, and it's a weird position because for me, I see something like this and I'm thinking, I like where this went so much that I don't even know if I want this to be attached to the MCU. And if you do it, I want it to be attached to a better phase. Hopefully this will be part of a better phase, because where it ends, I thought, man, I really want to see how, not only what it does in episode 2, I want to see how it affects the rest of this universe if they can get their shit together.
Well, they're not being jokey, so you have to worry about that. There's very little in the way of humor in this thing. But like I said, for all my complaints, I was pretty excited for the last episode, and it starts out very exciting. But I thought the second half of it, I thought the writing was actually kind of bad. I've never been quite that much of a fan of how they portray the Punisher in this series, in any of these. Because, yeah, okay, the Punisher's crazy and all, and he's homicidal. But with him, with the John Bernthal, he's more out of control. And every time he's doing something, it's, And I was thinking the Punisher, he's kind of smart about what he does. He's homicidal, and he's a maniac, but he's very calculated. And in the second half of this, he does something where I was like, well, that's just stupid. Like there wasn't even a plan. There's no reason you should even still be alive.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
just the way that all wrapped up, I was like, okay, and this is where we drop off. I mean, I guess I got to see what y'all are going to do next, but I don't know. I feel like it, like I said, the pacing on the whole series, it wasted a lot of time, and maybe it'll be tighter next, because I kept reading stuff about how they had to do a bunch of reshoots and so much of it is drama. I mean, courtroom drama, and Daredevil doesn't show up for 5 episodes. I was like, nah, that's fine. But actually watching, I was like, yeah, it is kind of bugging me.
So what would you give it then?
I mean, for me, it's a low matinee.
I don't know if I'm that far off from you, because I can see this being a little too long, but I definitely enjoyed it a lot more, obviously. So I don't know, man. I'm probably, I would say high matinee, but I'm probably more on the side of a low full price.
Yeah, that's what you sound like.
Yeah, no, I'm a low full price for me.
Yeah.
I think that this is probably, and again, this can be argued, but I think that this is Marvel's best TV show, because I just think that, again, the mature rating on this has allowed them to just write better, except for some, I see some things you're talking about, but it definitely had me hooked waiting for the next season, man. I really want to see where this goes. And I really want to see how the repercussions of this, the tremors affect the rest of the MCU. Because I think they got something very interesting here, if they don't mess it up with other things.
Honestly, I do also. I mean, one, I know that my lack of Daredevil problem will be gone by the next season. Yeah, and there's been so much that's been set up, especially with old Fisky.
Old Fisky. I like that. You sound like old guys. Old Fisky's going to erupt any moment now.
Because he has done too much.
Oh,
I was like, man, being somewhat corrupt, you could have rode this out for a long time. But I will say one thing about, once you get past the beginning where they really try to sell the Trump stuff and the end when they really bring it back, in the middle, I was like, well, something that separates him from Trump is that he really does seem to be trying to get things done in a positive manner, for the people.
I like the way you say, you in the position where you could have done something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey man, King gonna pin.
I know, right?
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Devil gonna dare.
Yeah. Very good. This man one up me right here. How dare you, sir? How dare you?